my name is Kristen and welcome to my channel. I am a third year DPT student, and in today's video, we are going to get into the tea about clinicals, just all things clinicals, and some reflections of my own clinicals. So if you are interested, continue to stick around and watch the rest of the video. So for anyone who might be a pre-PT or is thinking about physical therapy and I don't know, you just don't know what clinicals are, this first portion, I will kind of just tell you what they are. They are basically experiences where you get put into the real world. So you are at a actual PT clinic and you get to work with a licensed physical therapist who will be called your CI, your clinical instructor, and you will work with patients. So you'll put some of the skills that you have learned in school to the test by actually working with real life patients. And with it, depending on the school that you're at, clinicals can be set up differently. Some schools, they have part-time clinicals that are immersed within your didactic semester. At the school that I am at Hampton, we do 5 full-time clinicals. They're all 8 weeks long, and the first 2 are within your second year, and they're in the second half of a didactic semester. So in the fall and the spring semesters in our second year, and then in the summer of second year, we are in class. And then in our third year, we have the first 8 weeks in our fall semester is didactic, and then from there on, we are in full-time rotations. So that's basically what clinicals are. You're put out into the field and to just get an understanding of what it is to truly be a PT, go through all of the tests and measures and all of the procedures that you have learned in school and use all of the knowledge that you have gained. Of course, you don't know everything, but you're literally there to learn so that by the time you graduate, you can go straight into working into any clinic. So that is what clinicals are. So some things to note for anybody who might be in PT school, or again, if you're about to get into PT school. Things to know and to keep in mind prior to your clinicals. So just to go to the school in general, you're gonna have to have your immunizations together for the most part, but make sure you have, all of your documents saved, because your clinical director will get some from the school, but any like flu shots, you might need a varicella shot, you might need the Hep B shot. I had to get that, and with the Hep B, I had to get the Hep B titer, because that shot is typically when you get in childhood, but more recently they've been finding that adults don't have the antibodies anymore, so they are requiring the Hep B shot again. So I had the Hep B titer to see if I still had the antibodies. I did not, so I had to get the shot as well. So those are things to keep in mind, of just remembering to always get your flu shot, be up to date with your COVID vaccines, and then just make sure to have all of your records in order. Of course, like I said, just to be at your school, they require a lot of those documents anyway. So just making sure you know where they're at, so that when it's time for clinicals, you can pull up that information. You may also need a PPD. And so those last for up to a year. So however your school does it, you might just need one, or you might have to get another one. At my school, we had to do the 2-step PPD. So immunizations, just be ready for those. Most insurances cover those things, but I know for me, I turned 26 from PT school, so I was I was under my parents' insurance. We had Kaiser, and where my school is, there weren't too many Kaisers, so some stuff I did have to pay out of pocket, unfortunately. And then for a minute, once I turned 26, I'm like, trying to remember. I had Medicaid, but I'm from Maryland and my school is in Virginia. So Maryland Medicaid doesn't cover you in Virginia. So some things my clinical director didn't tell us about until we were down there. So I had to pay some of those out of pocket as well. So just keeping that in mind, especially for those who do turn 26 and are while in PT school and you're gonna get kicked off your parents' insurance. Just be ready for, you know, any of those costs that might come up. Which brings us to the next thing, insurance. You do need insurance. So if you end up getting Medicaid and the school that you're at is not your home state, keeping in mind those things, that your Medicaid covers you for your home state and not the new state that not that new state that you're in. So you have to give insurance, period. But just to keep in mind too, like if you get sick and you're not in your home state and you have Medicaid, if it's an emergency, it'll get covered, but there's gonna be some like out-of-pocket costs. Thankfully for me, I never got sick that I had to do any of that, but just some things to keep in mind. But you do need insurance, because your insurance is what is also going to cover you while you're in clinicals. Okay, some other things to keep in mind is that some of your clinical rotations may require a drug test, so you may have to pay for that. I know we had to, maybe it depends, maybe there are some schools that might pay for it, but that is something to keep in mind. And then background checks, some rotations will require a background check, which is something you will also have to pay for. So you really want to make sure you are saving your money, your coins, because they're just extra expenses that go into clinicals. Now, for me personally, I did my first 2 clinicals in the city that I did them in Hampton. Essentially I was able to stay at my apartment in Hampton, because the first one was basically in Hampton and then the second one was in Williamsburg, but that was like a 22-minute drive. So I was able to stay in my apartment because personally for me, financially, it just didn't make sense for me to be paying 2 rents. Now, with my school, I'm finding out more and more that maybe this is more of an anomaly, that you can kind of have a little bit more of a say of where you're going, like the state at least. You may not be in the setting that you want to be in, but you can be in the state. So the first 2 I did down in Virginia, so I could just stay in my apartment and not have to think about that. And then my last 3 I have done here at home. So I've been at home with my parents and I don't have to think about rent, thankfully. So I just pay for groceries and gas and whatever other expenses, but you know, I get to stay at home with my parents, which is nice and saves me money. So as far as like, if you like Airbnb, I'm not the channel or the person to ask about that, because I didn't find housing while in clinicals, because I stayed at my apartment and then stayed with my parents. So that's the way I did it. If you are lucky enough to be able to do that, that's great. It'll help save you money. But if you know your school is more of you're going wherever we put you and then you have to look for that stuff. I know that there is a YouTuber, her name is Sydney. She's in PT school and I know she did that, and I believe she made a video on that. I'll tag her down below and I'll put her name on the screen. But yeah, so I know that she made a video on that. So you'll want to keep that in mind about just paying for a place if you do get put wherever. Another thing is uniforms. Some sites require you to wear certain things. So if you have your business attire, some might just require like maybe like a polo and some slacks. Just you're gonna have to stock up on that anyway for school and like just business attire. So in that regard, you might be good, but you know, scrubs if you're once you're in a hospital, because you have to do like kind of hospital settings, you will need scrubs. And then some will be particular on the color, because maybe their allied health, PTs wear a certain color, or the PT, OT, SLPs, they wear that color. That's what I ran into with my acute care rotation at the hospital I was at in Williamsburg. They wore purple scrubs, so I had to get purple scrubs. So just keeping that in mind. In my first clinical, they only wore, like, the uniform was like red polos and black slacks. So I had polos, but were all of them red? No. So I had to get red polos. So just thinking about that as well. And I think that, something else that you might have to do is modules. I mainly had to do that for the hospital. None of my outpatient clinics required me to do anything else, but for the hospital, my next rotation, my 5th rotation, will be in the hospital, and my 2nd rotation was in the hospital, and I've had to do modules for both of those. So those will be something that you have to do. You don't have to pay for that. That's just extra stuff that you'll have to do, and it's just making sure, it's just stuff to make sure that you know that particular hospital's policies and procedures, and just kind of the back end of like how they function, which is helpful if you're thinking about working in the hospital, and if you get offered a job there, they'll really love that, because you basically have done the onboarding, because it's basically onboarding you like you're going to be an employee there. So yeah, I think those are all the things that you will do before you enter the clinic, and those are all the things to think about. So I'm going to go back into how my school does clinicals. So like I said, we do, and if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my handy dandy iPad. Love this thing. But yeah, my school does 5 8-week clinicals. They're all full-time clinicals, like I said. I already went into the breakdown. So my school, we use the CPI, and I think most programs use the CPI. I don't remember what that stands for. Oh, I think it stands for Clinical Performance Index. I think that's what it stands for. And it sounds good, so I'm gonna roll with it, that maybe that's what that stands for. But the CPI is something that you will do once you're in clinic. I did not hear about it until the semester before I started clinicals. And basically it is something that your CI and you will have to fill out. And it's how you're going to get graded for your clinical. So your CI will use it to grade you, and then you will use it to kind of just grade yourself. But the grade that actually counts, at least at my school, is what the CI does. But I think it's a self-reflection thing, which is why they have you also fill out the CPI for yourself. So there are 6 categories to the CPI. There's beginner, advanced beginner, independent, intermediate, advanced intermediate, entry, and beyond entry. 6 categories. And for us, by the 5th clinical, we have to be at entry level. Now, of course, we could reach that prior to, but that 5th clinical, our CI needs to be scoring us at entry level. But for us, the first clinical, we need to be at beginner, which is super easy to get. Because basically beginner is like a tech. If you've been a tech, you're at like beginner. Then the second clinical is advanced beginner, which is why I wanted my 2nd rotation to be in the hospital. For us, our first rotations can't be in the hospital. They make us do all outpatient just to get our footing, like understanding, and then our 2nd and on any clinicals after the first one can be in the hospital. So I wanted to make my 2nd one in the hospital, because I was just like, I just gotta be an advanced beginner. The expectations are not as high. But here I am, my last clinical is gonna be also in the hospital. The 3rd clinical, we have to be at intermediate. The 4th clinical, which is what I'm in now, I have to get to advanced intermediate, and then the 5th clinical, I need to be at entry. So that's kind of just how my school does it. And so yeah, now I want to get into my journey with my clinicals. So I have done 3 outpatient clinicals so far. I've done 4, so 3 out of the 4 have been outpatient. 1 has been in acute care, and then my 5th one will be in acute care again. Don't ask me, oh, did you really enjoy acute care? I didn't hate it. Yes, I have done 3 outpatient, 1 acute care, and like I said, my last one is also acute care. So 2 of my outpatients have been strictly outpatient ortho. This one is a mixture of ortho and neuro. With my CI now, we are seeing about 75% neuro, and like, it might even be less. It might be more than 75 and 25, but we'll just say about that. 75 neuro, 25 ortho. And I like having the mix. I do. I thought I wanted to be in an all neuro place, but I kind of like having both, because the ortho kind of gives my brain a break just a little bit. So it's kind of nice to have that breakup in there, and I enjoy that. And when it was just strictly ortho, those kind of dragged. Especially my first one. The hours were 9 to 6, and I think on Friday it was like 9 to 5:30 on a freaking Friday. But it was a good learning experience. Like, everybody was nice. It was very diverse, which I liked. So I enjoyed that. And it was my first step into it. And I think it was a good, like, first clinical. Your first one, you're always scared, like, because you're just like, do I even know enough to help with anything, to do anything, to, can I do this for real? That's really where your thought process is. But once you get into it, you realize you know more than you think. And of course, you don't know everything. You should always ask questions and things like that. But I'm sure you know more than you probably give yourself credit for, because that's how it was for me. And so I think it was a good first clinical. Yeah, I like that it was diverse. There was a lot of motor vehicle accidents in that one, which was very alarming to me. And I think that's really all I can say about that one. It was cool. Everybody was, all the clinicians were older. It was 1 full-time PT, a part-time PT, and then 2 full-time PTAs. But yeah, they were all older, and there was 2 techs. 3 techs, I'm lying. Yeah, 3 techs. But it was okay. I think, like I said, I think it was a good first step, but it just dragged. By week 3, I was just like, okay, I'm ready for this to be over. And I think that's just because of the hours and just really solidifying that just strictly ortho is just not my jam. Just strictly ortho is just not for me. For my second clinical, it really wasn't that diverse. I was in the hospital. Yeah. It wasn't awful. There were definitely moments that I liked. Me and my CI, we were okay. Like, she was nice. Like, she wasn't anything like bad or anything. But sometimes she would like just kind of take over. And so I kind of had to have a talk with her and just let her know that, can you let me try? Instead of taking over this session. And you say it in a respectful manner. Sometimes you just have some CIs that they're so used to being in the groove of things and being by themselves and just getting it done that they forget to step back. And for me, I just have to let her know I'm the personality type that I am, that if you're going to talk, I'm going to let you talk. I'm not going to try to butt in or cut you off or anything like that. I'm going to let you talk. So I had to let her know, I want to be able to know that I can do this on my own. And if you keep doing it for me, I'm not gonna be able to grow. And sometimes you have to have those conversations with your CIs. And so I kind of just had to let her know that. And then for the most part, she got better. I had to do an in-service for both my first and my second clinicals. They're not bad, but I just don't know. I don't be wanting to do an in-service. Like, I don't. But yeah, it wasn't diverse. And after my first clinical, I think going to a not diverse place, it was just like, I need diversity. Like, I don't know, just not feeling like I'm alone in a space. And of course, it wasn't like it was just all one race. Like, the doctors, the nurses, like, they all had people of color, but like within the PT unit itself, it was all white women. For the most part, there was one black PT, and then there was like an Indian rehab tech. I think she was Indian, Pakistani, something like that. And then I think she may have been Indian, and she was an OT. But other than that, everybody else was white female, one white man. That was it. And I think for me, it was just not diverse. It was a smaller hotel. It wasn't like your level 1 trauma or anything like that. But we did go to the ICU. So I did stuff in the ICU. And I would do like post-op, so literally getting people right after they've gone through surgery from their knee replacement or their hip replacement, and we're getting them up and we're getting them moving. Because some people would leave the same day. And yeah, I saw some neuro, but not too much in the hospital. A lot of like cardiac sepsis, things like that. So yeah, that was my time there at the hospital. My last clinical that I just did in the fall, I really enjoyed the people. The people really do make it or break it, you know, sometimes. And so the staffing was diverse, and I really, really liked that. And it was younger, it was diverse, it was just, I really enjoyed being there. Like, it helped because the patient population, again, it was just all straight up ortho, which is just not my jam. Like, it just, doing ortho every day, all day, every day, no. But like a mixture, and don't get me wrong, there are things within neuro that have ortho aspects to it, but like just straight up ortho, every patient, no. But sprinkles of it, a little spring, a little, you know, I'm cool with that. That's fine. So yeah, that's what I saw in my last clinic. Just basically all ortho things. So everybody was nice though. The staff was great, really diverse, and I really, really enjoyed that. But the way that the clinic was run, it kind of is a PT mill. Not a fan of PT mills. Granted, they schedule every 30 minutes, but I don't like double booking with a re-eval. I don't like having a double book right before an eval or right after an eval. I don't care. I don't like that. So that's kind of how they ran, like a PT mill. And just not the biggest fan. And so now, we are at my 4th clinical, where I have neuro and ortho, and I do enjoy it. They do 45-minute time slots. Sometimes we might get a double book, but for the most part, we don't really double book like that, which I like. My biggest pet peeve with this place, though, is there is no scheduled lunch break, which should be illegal. I feel like that should never be a thing. None of my other clinicals did that. But it is a common thing within the healthcare field to not have a scheduled lunch break. But I just feel like that just shouldn't be a thing. So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. And this place also is really not that diverse as far as the staff goes. Like, there's no person of color that is a licensed clinician. Like, I'm there. I'm the only person of color. And I just don't particularly like that. Everybody's nice. Everybody's really nice. And they're cool. But I just prefer more diversity. I do personally. And so yeah. So, in conclusion, when it comes to clinicals, I think it's a great way to get an idea of what it is that you would want and kind of look for in a clinic when it's time for you to find your job. And that's really what I've been taking in more of now that I'm getting closer and closer to graduation, is what it is that I want. And I've said it multiple times throughout this video, but my two big things are a scheduled lunch break, because why are we not having a scheduled lunch break? So a scheduled lunch break and diversity. I'm realizing more and more that having a diverse staff, and not saying that everybody has to be Black. Granted, I wouldn't be opposed to an all Black staff, but it doesn't have to be all Black, but just more than just, you know what I mean? So those are two big non-negotiables for me. I really like having 45-minute time slots. I would prefer that. I will not go to a PT mill. If you're about to tell me that we're seeing patients every 15 minutes, no ma'am. No ma'am, no ham, no. I could handle every 30, but I really do like the every 45. I do like that. Just to get more time. And then of course, working with the neuro population, they just kind of require more of your supervision, which is why I like the little sprink of ortho, because sometimes when I want to get these notes done, I need a break from a patient that requires all of my attention. I kind of like having where I can kind of stand there, do some notes while you go through your exercise, and I don't have to like be laser focused on what it is that you're doing to make sure you're not about to fall or hurt yourself or anything like that. So yeah, just really pay attention to that. Save your money. If you are pre-PT or you've gotten into PT school and you're about to go in, save your money. Like, save your money, okay? Be ready for whatever expenses come that you may have to, tap into. Yeah, I think those are like the main points, is, just looking for what it is that you want, knowing that you are prepared. Sometimes you feel like you're not prepared, but you are, and nobody's expecting you to be perfect, because especially if it's your first one, they know that you don't know. So, ask your questions, but be ready to just work and learn as much as possible and advocate for yourself. With your CI, I've been blessed enough to have nice enough CIs, but you make your experience. So if you don't say anything, then you either might not get enough out of the clinical, or your CI might be stressing you out a little too much, and you got to let them know, like, hey, I'm here, I'm doing my best, but you're really like impacting my mental health. And those are not easy conversations to have, and it can be very intimidating because they are your CI, and that they might control your grade, or that they do kind of control your grade. But letting them know that, and even talking to your clinical director. If you're too nervous to talk to the CI, then talking to your clinical director and letting them know, the clinical director of your school, and just letting them know, like, what's tea with your CI. So those are the big things that I would say when it comes to clinicals. So hopefully this was informative and gave you insights into what is involved with clinicals. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you're a pre-PT, pre-PT, SPT, whatever you are, anything PT. Let me know, where you are in your journey, maybe how your clinicals have gone, and also let me know what type of things you want to see on my channel. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, I would just definitely love it if you would. No pressure, you don't have to, but it is free and it's right there. It's down below. So I would greatly appreciate it to help grow my channel. So that's all I have for now, and until next time, bye.